Now, you have to be careful what you post and share on social media accounts. It might just land you before a judge and maybe even in prison. Twitter influencer Zamaswazi Machozi is alleged to have incited violence via her social media account during July's unrest. She appeared in the Germiston Magistrates Court yesterday. To speak to us more about our digital footprints is John Leroux, who is a research associate at the Digital Forensic Research Lab. John, thank you so much for making time. How difficult or easy is it going to be for the NPA to prosecute these people that they have charged with inciting violence on social media?
Good afternoon, Clement. There's basically two parts to this investigation that the NPA they will need to surmount in order to get a successful prosecution. And the first part of this is linking the individual with the specific account. And then the second part of that would be actually identifying and proving that the account was making inciting or inflammatory statements. These are kind of two different elements or pillars of the investigation that they would need to be able to prove beyond reasonable doubt in a court before a judge before the prosecution will actually be successful.
What are the limitations of incitement of violence? Is incitement of violence only limited to telling people to commit public violence, or does it also extend to publishing content on social media that incites people to commit a crime?
I think the big question that the NPA will need to answer there is whether they can make that causal link between a specific account's tweets and then the resulting damage or resulting incite or at least public violence as a result of that causal link or that nexus between what was tweeted and what actually happened will need to be proven in a court. In a case where it's a kind of a vague call to arms sent out by an account, it'll be a lot more difficult for the NPA to show that that actually had the effect of getting people on the ground to go out to specific shops and loot and burn and protest as such. If there's more specific instances, so for example, if the NPA can show that there was a call for violence at a specific location or a specific business, and subsequently that transpired, that will make their case a bit easier to prove, though.
Yeah, wow. Then I would imagine they have a very difficult case then ahead of them, because essentially what they have to do is prove that because Clement tweeted this, that encouraged John and the others or influenced them to loot. And how do you prove that people who committed a crime were influenced by the tweet? So if I say, let's go and burn down Sandton City, and people actually go to burn down Sandton City, does the NPA look at I referenced Sandton City and as a result people banned it? Or do they have to establish that those people did what they did because of my tweet primarily?
No, it's the latter. So they'll actually have to show that because of your tweet, because of the utterances that you made, somebody went out there and acted upon that. It's I mean, just simply stating that let's go and burn down Sandton City, and subsequently something happens at Sandton City, there's no causal link between what you said and that specific actions. They actually need to prove there is a link between the tweets and the actual actions. Something that might be of interest, though, is the fact that the Hawks has actually confiscated the devices, the phones and the laptops of these individuals. Yeah. And I mean, the surface information operation, if you will, is the one happening on social media, the one happening on Twitter, the one on Facebook, the one that we as the public and as researchers and investigators can see quite clearly. There's also some of these things in the backgrounds, the WhatsApp groups, the Telegram groups, the Signal groups on which these individuals would have coordinated a bit more clandestinely. And obviously with access to the devices and access to the laptops and cell phones, it becomes a very real possibility that the NPA could actually get a lot more info than what we'll be able to see just on social media.
Yeah, let's hope they're going to be able to build a strong case if they have any against these people. What about the people who have tweeted things like "We see you" or "Viva" with videos of people burning trucks, looting shops, committing a crime? Because they're not directly telling people to go and loot, but they are basically approving of criminality.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost like a kind of a opportunistic celebration of events that have already transpired. They won't be able to show that those specific tweets incited events, since they were only made after the events had already occurred. I mean, in some cases, those images that we used and some of the videos that we used were posted years and months back. So they weren't even of current events. These were old videos and old photographs that were being used and almost repurposed or appropriated for the specific narrative. You know, they were using images from trucker protests on the highway to say, you know, these are protests for the release of former President Jacob Zuma.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunism. There's a lot of celebratory opportunism around those kind of tweets, but nothing that would actually be classified as incitement to specific violence.